Thanks for having me. This is an incredible conference. It's my first time here. I love it. Very, very energizing. I actually live in Ireland, and my daughter, Charlotte, is 8 years old, and she saw a picture of the town we live in, black and white picture, horse-drawn carriages and whatnot. And so she asked me a question. She said, "Daddy, when you were growing up, did they have cars?" And I said, "Thank you, but no, yes, we had cars, but when I was born, man hadn't yet landed on the moon." And I told her, "Charlotte, when you were born, the iPhone didn't exist." And she said, "What?" I mean, it was inconceivable to her. I mean, she said, "What did you do before the iPhone?" And it's not just the iPhone, it's the tablet. It's all that whole ecosystem that has been created in just this very, very, very short period of time, 8 years. I'm an inventor of sorts. I've been involved with a number of different inventions and megatrends. And the first company I started was a company called MapInfo. I don't know if any of you have typed an address on a computer and seen a street map. Has anyone done that, or on your iPhone or something? But it's really, took off. It became a couple $100 million company. It was about 28 years ago I formed that company, just out of college. And I also, 10 years after that, created a company called NetCentric, software for inside the internet. We coined the phrase, I actually trademarked the phrase cloud computing in 1997. So that was with George Favaloro, Compact Computer, and myself. We came up with that term. And I've done a few other things. But one thing that I look back to is a quote from Buckminster Fuller, which I love. "You never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete." So you never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. If you could think back to even my early days as a 21-year-old kid with 3 other kids from Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, trying to take on Rand McNally, a couple $100 million paper map manufacturer from Chicago, how could we possibly have defeated them by going into gas stations and try to sell paper maps, or going into bookstores and trying to compete head to head? We couldn't. We had to create a different model that obsoleted that model. And so when I look to there's about 100 companies that SOS Ventures next year will invest $50 million in 100 new startup companies throughout all the different accelerators that we're running worldwide in Shenzhen, China, Shanghai, Cork, Ireland, New York, and San Francisco. And I think of this quote on every one of them. How do we create a new model that makes for growth? When you do innovate, there's an expression, I think it's attributed to Gandhi. I'm not sure who actually said it. It was, at first, you guys probably know it better than I do. At first, they ignore you, and then they ridicule you, and then they attack you, and then you win. So that's very much what innovation is about. 3/4 of the time, and we're in a room filled with innovators, so I know you guys all know that. 3/4 of the time, you're struggling against people who are just spewing why it won't work and how it can't work, and dealing with the haters, as we call them. So I have assembled 4 different put-down lines that you can use against the haters when they attack you. So I'm going to go through these one by one. You may take out a pen and use some of them. They're handy. "Sorry, I refuse to engage in a battle of wits with an unarmed person." "It's okay if you disagree with me. I can't force you to be right." "Calm down, take a deep breath, and hold it for about 20 minutes. "I want to do things with my life. It appears your bucket list consists of beer and ice." So you may not remember those lines at the key moments you need to use them. I never do myself. I don't think I've ever used any of those lines. But anyway, we'll be talking about, very quickly, 5 trends in actually talk about creation and the birth of things. This is my daughter, Charlotte, when she was a baby. And the creation When something is born, let me relate this to a PBS show that was on last week. I don't know if anyone watched the Roosevelts, the Teddy Roosevelt, Franklin Delano Roosevelts. It was 2 weeks ago. It was great. And one of the things that make these people so remarkable is all of, Teddy, the Panama Canal and all the work that went into it. Franklin, Tennessee Valley Authority, electrification, all the New Deal, all the policy initiatives that these companies led with. Just remarkable. But, when you think about the role of a president, no president after Teddy Roosevelt has ever gotten any commendations for maintaining the Panama Canal. Maintainers aren't remembered. The interstate thruway system, spearheaded by Eisenhower, I believe, created by, he's remembered for that, for having created it. And when you think about your own lives and the impact that you're going to have in the world, and the way that people remember you, you do have to think, what is the innovation that I'm bringing to the world? What is existing because of my role? Dare to be great. Dare to actually go beyond what's expected. We all want to live significant, meaningful lives. And most of what we do is in our workplace, right? That's 40 to 60, 80 hours a week sometimes that we're dedicated to our work. This purpose, this meaning that we get out of life, we want to live lives that are significant, I would expect, especially this audience. But not just this audience, all the people in all of our organizations, they want to be remembered for having made the city of Chicago a bike-friendly city, or for having introduced sustainable transport to area. So these are with specific policy initiatives, with specific new artworks that are created, or anything else. So we really should be calling ourselves to dig deep in a sense of purpose. And one company that I formed about 7 years ago is a company called Carma, and it's currently running a ride-sharing, actually the legitimate ride-sharing, it's carpooling style app, really, in 4 different communities around the world. So it's a 35, 40-person company in Ireland. The networks are operating with thousands of people using the product every day. In Ireland, in Bergen, Norway, in Austin, Texas, and a little bit in San Francisco. And it's not like the neo-taxi companies like a Uber or Lyft or a Sidecar. It's really neighbors commuting with neighbors. And it's trying to solve the infrastructure problems that cities face. Highways are full of, Google has this expression, the driverless car. Even if you took each and every car in this photo and you replaced it with a driverless car, the highway is still jammed. The problem is not the driverless car, the problem is the riderless car. What we're trying to do at Carma is provide crowdsourcing the public transit system by effectively taking the empty seats in cars and allowing you to share those with your neighbors. I happen to live in a town, Kinsale, where there are several hundred users of Carma, and so I get to travel back and forth to work without needing a car. I could actually, our family, instead of having 2 or 3 cars, can get by with one that sits most of the time, because I live in the future. As William Gibson says, the future, it's already here, it's just not very evenly distributed. I live in a place where I can commute to work with my neighbor because it's a Carma community. We're trying to do and create those communities worldwide. So I don't know if you guys have seen this video. It's worth seeing. It's about creating movements, and I hope you enjoy it. It's just a couple minutes, and I'm going to show it to you now.
If you've learned a lot about leadership and making a movement, then let's watch a movement happen start to finish in under 3 minutes and dissect some lessons. First, of course, a leader needs the guts to stand alone and look ridiculous. But what he's doing is so simple, it's almost instructional. This is key. You must be easy to follow. Now here comes the first follower with a crucial role. He publicly shows everyone else how to follow. Notice how the leader embraces him as an equal. So it's not about the leader anymore, it's about them, plural. Notice how he's calling to his friends to join in. So it takes guts to be a first follower. You stand out and you brave ridicule yourself. being a first follower is an underappreciated form of leadership. First follower transforms a lone nut into a leader. If the leader is the flint, the first follower is the spark that really makes the fire. Now here's the second follower. This is a turning point. It's proof the first has done well. Now it's not a lone nut and it's not two nuts. 3 is a crowd and a crowd is news. A movement must be public. Make sure outsiders see more than just the leader. Everyone needs to see the followers because new followers emulate followers, not the leader. Now here come 2 more people, then 3 more immediately. Now we've got momentum. This is the tipping point, and now we have a movement. As more people jump in, it's no longer risky. If they were on the fence before, there's no reason not to join in now. They won't stand out, they won't be ridiculed, and they will be part of the in crowd if they hurry. And over the next minute, you'll see the rest who prefer to stay part of the crowd, because eventually they'd be ridiculed for not joining. And ladies and gentlemen, that is how a movement is made. So let's recap what we've learned. If you are a version of the shirtless dancing guy, all alone, remember the importance of nurturing your first few followers as equals, making everything clearly about the movement, not you. Be public, be easy to follow. But the biggest lesson here, did you catch it? Leadership is overglorified. Yes, it started with the shirtless guy, and he'll get all the credit, but you saw what really happened. It was the first follower that transformed a lone nut into a leader. There's no movement without the first follower. See, we're told that we all need to be leaders, but that would be really ineffective. The best way to make a movement, if you really care, is to courageously follow and show others how to follow. When you find a lone nut doing something great, have the guts to be the first person to stand up and join in.
I love that video. It's a great video, isn't it? And it does speak to, how something can seem like it's not going so well, but after a little while it just builds and it builds and it builds. And that's really what so much of the innovation that we're seeing, whether they talked about it today, plastic bags being replaced with, regular bags and being picked up, and the biking becoming popular in cities, it just happens seemingly overnight. So you can have a lot of faith, I think, in the pace of innovation once you have that initial momentum, once the initial model is shown to work. Here's a model that's working in education, Khan Academy. I'm very involved with Sal and the Khan Academy, and it's amazing that one guy, and of course he's got 70 other people that are working at the Khan Academy now, but effectively a small group of people, instead of just teaching a classroom of 20 or 30 students, are teaching 12 million students per month. And it's an example of something done at scale. And we love these types of innovation in the kinds of things that we support at SOS Ventures and at the O'Sullivan Foundation. But it reminds me of a quote from Mark Twain. He said, "At first, God invented idiots. He did that for practice, and then he invented the school board." So, we actually have to have our education system move much, much, much faster. And, there's another movement that I'm also beyond the Khan Academy, which is also CoderDojo. It's a great system. It's like the boys or girls clubs, Girl Scouts, but for coding clubs. And I noticed there's not a CoderDojo in Detroit, but there's about 100 CoderDojos in the United States and about 600 in Europe. So the thing I do in my day job at SOS Ventures is I run a bunch of accelerator programs worldwide. I think I mentioned that. And one of the areas that we are very excited about is about synthetic biology. There's a couple of companies in synthetic biology that recently launched. We launched 6 companies 2 weeks ago in San Francisco that are going to have really profound impacts on the world. And I thought, Jesse from Meeting of the Minds thought you'd like to hear about some of these innovations. MoveFree is one of these companies. And it's just like milk. It is milk, but it doesn't use cows to produce it. It uses synthetic biology to produce it. And because of that, there's a number of advantages. It doesn't have bacteria like you would have in the body of a cow, so therefore it doesn't go sour or go bad. You don't have to deal with the lactose because you can construct the milk without lactose, and so therefore that's good for people. And we can also produce it right now at the same cost of milk, and within a few years it could be 3 to 4 times cheaper than what milk costs. So this has great impact on global warming. This has great impact because of the methane production of cows. Lots of interesting areas that come around this. Synthetic biology is at the stage right now that computer programming was in 1980. Back in the day when I was growing up, you had to have a mainframe. You had to be basically a multinational corporation in order to be able to program a computer. When desktop PCs came out, that changed the game, and that is now those kinds of biological processes, which before were limited to just the multinationals for producing biological drugs and things. Now we can make with desktop DNA sequencers and programmability of DNA and PCR machines that are very cheap. We can make chemical compounds, and you'll continue to see this be a revolution for the next, I'd say, 20 to 30 years. Not just in milk. Here's another one, medical marijuana. Effectively, this is just taking THC. For $500 worth of raw ingredients using a fermentation process, you can produce something that in Denver you could legally sell for $3.2 million of street value in terms of the THC. So this is, it's remarkable what you can do with synthetic biology, and you're going to see lots and lots of innovation. This is a plant, a company, Revolution Bio, that is coming out that you can change the DNA so that the plant changes the colors of the leaves. From the morning, it could be pink. At nighttime, it can be purple. All these are things that you can reprogram in the DNA of flowers and seeds, and this is all possible now, basically to indie bio, people working at their own labs without a multinational behind them. It's quite interesting. We also do work in human-computer interaction. We backed a company called Leap Motion, and I can't go into all the details because I'm running low on time, but if you know anybody that has lazy eye, where they can't see 3D because their eye, only one eye is in looking at you, the other eye is sort of off in the distance, that's been cured. And in the next few months, 4% of Americans that can't see 3D, 4% of the world that can't see in 3D can use the product that's combining software, hardware, and the motion movements to solve that. We also have another product that allows deaf people to speak, Motion Savvy, that just also got launched about 4 months ago, and it allows deaf people to communicate. Sorry, if anyone's interested in those areas, please contact me and we can talk about it. There's lots of these products that are coming out. As I mentioned, we support over 100 companies a year. And these are the 20 consumer electronics companies that are being launched. We've heard before how quickly these new disruptive companies are swallowing traditional industries. We're active fans of that. We think that's good. The truth is that if you don't move quick enough, you're going to be roadkill, effectively. And I leave you with a few quotes from Charles Darwin. It's not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the one that's most responsive to change. Another way to look at that is the one who learns fastest is the one who wins. So in the lean startup methodology, it's called making hypothesis. We cannot and do not know what the future holds, but we can take a stab at it, make a hypothesis, test it, and learn fast. That's what I encourage all of you to do in your cities, in your governments, in your businesses, and be aware that it's not just you either choose the right path or the wrong path. It's be prepared to choose again, and keep at it on an incremental progress, and that's what it takes to win. So It's hard to do change. It causes a lot of negative emotions. We have marketing on our side. Marketing is what we can help fool people into thinking they're comfortable with change. We encourage you to be the change you want to see in the world. My last quote here is from Martin Luther King. Faith is taking the first step, even when you don't see the whole staircase. So thank you very much, and on to Gordon.
Thank you, Sean.